Okay, here I am in my high-tech recording studio. I literally have my iPad propped on two books and the Lysol wipe container to be able to make this video. So you can laugh about that. Just going to show you some basics of DynaScape. When you open DynaScape on one of the computers, it's probably going to give you this Welcome to DynaScape design thing. You can just close that and you don't have to worry about that. Or you can simply do what they say there and go to File and New Drawing. And you can see they do have the clicks through, so you could do Control N if you wanted to do it that way, but it's easy enough to just use the mouse. And then it's going to ask you for a size, and you'll notice that it gives you the size of the paper, 8.5 by 11 in this case, landscape orientation, and the scale. So let's just hypothetically pick an 8.5 by 11 at a scale of 1 foot. 1 inch equals 10 feet, so a 1 to 10 scale. So every inch on the paper represents 10 feet outside on the property. So you can just hit that and then hit OK, and it opens up for you this drawing page. Now this edge is the edge of your paper. One of the things that you do have to keep in mind is that every printer prints their margins just a little bit differently, but that dotted line is supposed to represent the edge of the paper. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit right here, and what I want you to notice is the layers, and there's lots and lots of different layers: temporary layer, building, base, property, porch, etc., etc. Every one of those layers is going to be a different color, which is convenient because then you can see immediately which parts of the landscape are which. I'm going to start showing some examples on the base layer or the building layer, because it makes a nice thick line which would represent the walls of your house or a shed or something like that, and it's a little bit easier to see on the screen. But you want to get into the habit of changing the layers to the property or the plants or the driveway or the patio or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put this as the building layer, and that will give a nice thick line. Let me zoom back out. The other thing you want to look at is at all of your drawing tools up here. Most of the time what we're going to be using are the drawing tools and the editing tools. I'm not going to go through every single one of the drawing tools, but I just kind of want to show you when you bring up the toolbox, you can move it around. You can even grab the corners and make it a different shape if you want to, but you can move it around to wherever it's convenient. I'm going to leave it right here on the screen so that everybody can see. The first one, we will go over all of these tools individually. The first one is how to draw the building. Then you get lines and polylines or curves, rectangles and squares, arcs, circles, ellipses. Then you have corner radius and a couple of different areas where you can insert different hatch patterns or different patterns, like a paver patio or something along those lines. Lettering, you can just insert text, or you can insert text with a leader. In other words, a line pointing to say a plant or a patio or something along those lines. These are probably going to be the tools that you're going to use most frequently. When you go to draw a line, you'll see it brings up another box, and not all the tools will, but many of them will bring up a box, and you can enter a specific length. So if you enter a length of, say, 5 feet, and then you just hit your enter key on your keyboard, every time you draw the line, it'll draw exactly 5 feet. It knows what your scale is. You've already told it the scale, and it will automatically draw in 5-foot increments. You can probably hear my mouse clicking. One of the little bit harder things to deal with is it's always going to be left click, left click, left click, left click until you get to you're done, and then you right click to tell it that you're done with the tool. So every time I want to draw a line, okay, I can left click, it draws another one. Left click, it draws another one. Left click, it draws another one. Oh, I'm done drawing lines. Right click and notice it's done drawing those lines. So that is something you do kind of have to get into the habit of utilizing. You can always switch tools in the middle of things. If you'd like to do that, you can see this one brings up another box. We will go over all of these tools, so I'm not expecting you to memorize these. I just kind of wanted to show you that you can input the height or the length or the width, or you can just simply start making boxes. You'll notice I'm simply dragging the cursor when I get it to the size that I want. I left click and I'm done. And it's made those boxes. It does the same thing with circles. You can tell it a radius, you can tell it a diameter, and it makes automatically the circle for you. One of the things that you do want to make sure you kind of get used to is changing the layers. That's one thing. But if you make a mistake, you can go up here to the trash can, right, and you can just simply highlight the trash can. You'll notice then I can just draw a box. Everything that's blue now is going to disappear. Well, I missed this one. Again, you can see things disappear, and now I've got a fresh start if I'd like to do something completely different. I'm just going to show you that if you click on a different line, so here's the property line, and I draw a line to represent, say, the edge of a property, you'll notice how the property line has the dots and dashes, because that is how we represent a property line in the landscape industry. If I were to draw on the driveway or the road, you'll notice the colors are different. If I were to draw on the border, again, you can see the colors are totally different. If I go down and I find another layer, let's say the grading layer, you can see every time I change the layer, you get slightly different colors. So that's going to help keep track of things in your mind as to what different colors you're going to have and what different colors you're going to use, and to make sure that you get everything on the proper layer. It's also how I'm going to use when I grade your designs, I'll say, okay, these things are the right color, they are on the correct layer. It's a little hard to see on the screen. Let me zoom in. You'll notice up here, when something is red, it means that that particular thing is active. I can click these buttons off, and if I go to none, then I turn that off. I can turn things off or on depending upon how I want to work. So when we look at these sorts of things, one of the things that we're going to look at is inference. And inference is the computer making a decision about where the middle of a line is or where the end of a line is. And it's very convenient for designers to have that on. But if your designs are very large and very complex, then you probably want to turn that off, because it is a memory mongering thing. Another thing to look at is constraint. So I'm going to click on that, and you'll notice we get several different things. Ortho, so it's orthogonal. In other words, the lines can go up and down and left to right. If I only want my lines to go horizontal, or I only want my lines to go vertical, or I only want my lines to go at a certain angle, or I can have no constraints, meaning I can draw lines in any way, shape, or form. So let me show you horizontal, and then I will scroll back out, and I will draw a line. Let me go back to the building layer. Where did it go? There we go, building layer, so you can see it a little bit better. And if my constraints are set to horizontal, no matter which way I move the mouse, that line is going to go horizontal, no matter what I do. I cannot draw up and down. So that does prevent you from making mistakes with things. I can change the constraints to vertical, and now no matter what I do, notice I'm moving the mouse left and right. That line is going up and down, no matter what. If I go to orthogonal, I can draw up, down. I cannot draw at any other angle but up and down and left and right. If I go to polar, I can set the polar. It defaults to 45 degrees, so it'll always draw up, down, left, right, and if you go to the angle, the 45-degree angle. You can change the angle, so if you're working with a different angle, you could change it to 30 degrees or 70 degrees or whatever it is that you'd like. And then if you just turn it to none, you'll notice I can draw a line in any way I want. So one of the first things that we're going to do as we move into working with DynaScape is we're going to spend some time practicing the clicking, practicing with the different tools, practicing changing the layers. As always, if you have questions, do not hesitate to contact me.